right, welcome everyone. You guys hear me okay? All right, I'm Matt Bennett. I see a lot of familiar faces, but I'm here working with Case IH today to talk about a new technology. Those of you that don't know me, again, I don't work for Case IH. I just get to work with them quite a bit at events like this, and they asked me if I'd come and MC this today. But I work with commodity markets, and so as we get a little bit into this, I'll talk to you a little bit about the efficiencies that I think are important, and I think that some of the technology we're going to talk about today is pretty intriguing. So Alex Caldwell, Brent, Bast, these are two guys that are experts in this field. And if you guys want to just take a minute to introduce yourselves, and then we'll get going.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And thanks for everybody coming out. Appreciate seeing standing room only in here. So thank you so much. My name is Alex Caldwell. I'm the product marketing manager for application equipment for Case IH here in North America. Grew up on a small row crop farm in central Illinois, and currently reside with my wife and two kids up in northwestern Indiana.
Hi everybody, I'm Brent Bast. I'm the Global Product Manager for CNH. I've been with the company for 7 years. Been in crop protection pretty much all my life, working at Raven Industries for 15 years before that. I reside in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, with my lady Lindsay and our 4 kids, and then farm with my 2 brothers in southwest Minnesota. So love the audience here. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Yeah, so Alex actually grew up 45 minutes north of me is about all. So I'm in central Illinois. Those of you guys that don't know, I farm, and so I run a company along with some other guys called Ag Market. We do brokerage and consulting. And clearly the markets have been pretty tumultuous, especially in the last week. I kind of wish that last week's markets would have maybe been after Commodity Classic instead of before. Those of you that don't know, I will have a presentation tomorrow along with Ed Ussett from the University of Minnesota. It'll be in one of these rooms close to here, the Early Morning Riser. So I know several of you that are in here have been at the Early Morning Riser before. We usually have a very large crowd. And we're going to get more into the weeds, but quite frankly, I think you guys all understand over the last couple of years we've had some pretty serious challenges whenever it comes to inputs. We've had a lot of challenges with paying for instance, expensive fertilizer. And at the same time, it's been, the markets haven't exactly offered us a lot of opportunity. Now, the last several weeks, other than this last week, have certainly been better as far as the markets have been concerned. But the volatility that we're seeing, and the challenges that we're seeing makes efficiencies all that much more important for each one of us. So again, I farm, I understand how it goes. I've written checks for a couple $100,000 for fertilizer, just like you guys have at times. So it's a major challenge. And so when these guys asked me if I want to come in and and work with them on this, I thought it's a pretty good opportunity, especially right now, because even though I think over the last several weeks we all felt a whole lot better about the markets, I think we all kind of knew that a week like last week could make us feel a heck of a lot different. And so I don't think any of us, I think we should all be able to agree in here that we're clearly not out of the woods yet as far as the challenges that we've got going on as with profit margins and and what these commodity markets are doing. So we're going to jump right in and talk a little bit more about efficiencies. If you guys want to give us a little bit more rundown of the sense and spray technology, however you guys want to get started, we'll go ahead and start getting into the weeds, so to speak.
Yeah, thank you so much. So we are super excited as Case IH to be here at Commodity Classic this year, launching our first Sense and Act technology in the application space. We're calling it SenseApply, and it is a single cab-mounted camera that is a multispectral camera that's analyzing multiple different wavelengths of light to analyze the field conditions out in front of your sprayer or combination applicator. We're looking about 50 feet out in front, and you'll notice that it's actually a swath or a range that we're scanning that crop as we go across it in the field. And we have a viewing width out of that single camera of out to 140 feet wide. So within that, we can kind of capture all of our boom offerings out to 135 feet today, as well as all the swath widths we support on that Trident combination applicator for the different dry beds that we offer on the back of that as well. With this field of view this far out in front of the machine, we can do our live variable rate applications at up to 25 miles per hour, and we can do our selective spray or our spot spray applications at up to 19 miles an hour. We are launching this from the factory on our model year 26 Patriot 50 series sprayers, as well as our Trident 5550 combination applicators. When you would step up to that selective spray upgrade to do some of those spot spray applications, it would be important to note that we'd need that Aim Command Flex 2 option to make sure we had those spot spray capabilities. But an important thing to call out right here at the front is all of those live variable rate application modes that we're going to talk about are full boom variable rate applications. So you're able to do that without any other pulsing technology on the sprayer or combo unit.
Right. I don't know about you guys, but I've got some fields that we won't be going 19 miles an hour in, but that's just, I'm going to have to talk to my ground working guy about that. But you talk about VRA, so variable rate application, you know, is this just a one size fits all? I mean, tell us a little bit more about how this works, the different modes, you know, everything that there is to know about it.
Love to, Matt. Thanks. So we are really excited about this. We have 5 different live VRA modes of operation and 2 selective spray modes of operation, and focusing specifically on the live VRA, because we honestly believe that the variable rate application can really be for every farmer. I mean, depends on what you do, whether you're putting down fertilizer, plant growth regulators, desiccants, harvest aids, fungicide, there is a offering for pretty much everybody when we talk about live VRA. I mean, it's practically having, you know, an agronomist with you going through the field to actually have the camera see what we're doing and change the rates of what we're applying as we go. Alex already touched on this, but we are harping on this. One of the most exciting things about this is we're allowing you to do all this up to 25 miles per hour. We are not slowing you down. Or actually, excuse me, as we talk about the variable rate application, we're not slowing you down. We're not putting technology on there and hindering your application speeds and performance.
I think that's pretty cool technology to be able to, to be able to sense what the plant needs, I guess, and be able to change it on the go. As far as the sense and spray, I'd like to hear more about it, on how that works. You know, I saw on the video there was 3 different nozzles dropping at the same time. What specifically can you tell us to learn more about how this technology works?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about, we have 2 modes of operation when we talk about selective spray. And I will touch on one of them, and then I'll let Alex touch on the other, because they are different. So if we just talked about selective spray, spot spray, that is where we're going to see a weed, and we're going to turn on a select group of nozzles, a minimum of 3, so 3 nozzles minimum, up to, I'll say, the whole boom width of nozzles. If you have a whole patch of weeds, the width of the boom, or any variance between 3 and 72 if we have a 120-foot sprayer. And that is going to allow, as you're going to the field, again, turning on different nozzles, group of nozzle sections as we're going. The second mode of operation, I'll let Alex touch on just a second, if you would.
Yeah, so actually, if we can, we'll go backwards before we go forwards. You'll see on the live VRA side of the list there's a mode that's called live VRA burn down. So that is an herbicide management mode that does not use the nozzle by nozzle technology to make sure that we still offer some level of herbicide management in kind of our base or our foundational offering of this. What that is doing is you're setting a minimum rate and a maximum rate, and the more biomass we see out in front of the sprayer, the more we're going to turn up and apply a little more herbicide over that. And we're doing that across the entire boom, right? So the more biomass to see, the slower that we'll, or the more herbicide will apply and approach that maximum rate until we see that full rate out. When you're talking about base plus boost mode, it is somewhat a combination of those 2 modes, live VRA burn down and the spot spray. So what base plus boost actually allows us to do is spray a base rate or a broadcast rate of herbicide across the entire boom, and then we're spot spraying over the top of that. So in the same spots where we're seeing that weed pressure, it will boost to a prescriptive rate or that maximum rate to make sure we give a higher dose over that area where we have known weed pressure that we want to make sure we get a good kill across the field.
And you might ask why 2 modes of operation? Why would we not just have the one? the spot spray. Because we know that there's going to be conditions, super tall stubble height, really thick stubble after combining some wheat, canola, et cetera type of crops. And we want to make sure nobody's skeptical that we're picking up all the weeds. So if we're putting down a base rate of product, we're ensuring that any small weed we're gonna get. And when we see a weed, we're gonna boost those nozzles to ensure that we put the proper dose when we see the weed. That is why we're doing a base plus boost or a selective spot spray.
It's pretty cool technology. I think one of the biggest questions someone might have is new technology, of course. Where are we going to see efficiencies? Like what is the main way that this is going to help a grower, or the efficiency of product that you're applying? Can you talk to us about how that manifests itself first of all, and then how we learn about it or how we know about it after we exit the field?
Yeah, for sure. So the best way to kind of approach this question is to compare it to the most common practice that we see today in terms of this application, which is just a flat broadcast rate of these different chemistries across your entire field, right? And anytime you're sizing a broadcast application for a given field, you are making some assumption about the amount of vegetation or the plant health, or depending on the application, what that application needs to do for that field. Broadly speaking, a broadcast application, we tend to be pretty optimistic with it and size it for the highest need that we would see in that field, as opposed to being able to meet the specific need of that specific swath as we're going through that field, right? What SenseApply allows us to do in live VRA is analyze that crop and make sure that we're meeting the need of that crop with that pass after pass through the field. So what that tends to translate to, the main benefit is actually in the placement of the application and being in the right size, the right place, the right amount, the right time, right? All of those things. But when we compare that to a broadcast application that tends to be an over application across the field, those input costs come back into that operations pocket in the form of savings of that chemistry across the field.
Is this the form of savings then? I assume this is something that we can look at after the fact, send it to our landlord and show them where we've saved.
Oh yeah, you're tracking that as applied amount as we're going through the field.
And send them a map.
Yep. So you've got as applied coverage to show exactly what was sprayed where across that field. And then it's a pretty easy exercise to do total gallons sprayed compared to what you did for your broadcast application at that same tank mixture, however many seasons in the past as well.
So when you look at the savings as far as the variable rate goes, I mean, how does the operator figure out as far as the limits on the downside and the upside on how much they're spraying versus, a minimum rate, a maximum rate? How's that all work out?
I'll gladly answer that. So when you get into the cab, you're going to do a couple things. You're going to choose a minimum and a maximum rate that you're going to want the system to apply. So if you're going to do a variable rate application, you're going to put down the minimum amount of product, and you're going to choose a maximum amount of product. Just like you would when you get in to start a field, you're going to enter in a base rate. Now we're just going to enter in a max and a minimum, and the camera is going to dictate between those two rates. And all that comes back from what crop type that you get into. So backing up even first, you're going to get into the cab, select in your display what crop type you have. As you can see on the screen here, we have a pretty wide variety of crop types. And not all of our modes of operation are for every crop type, but you can see which ones are for what crop and what mode. And you put in your minimum and maximum rate, and basically you get to work. So once you have those in there, you start your job and you get applying. And you'll see on the screen here, you can see what the map is painting. You're able to select a few different choices on the screen when you're in the job as far as the sensitivity levels and things, but it's very simplistic and basic to operate.
Yeah, and an important thing too when we're talking about those VRA jobs, this system self-calibrates itself to the crop that it's seeing in that field live when we start that job. So actually, for the first around 150 feet or so, you're going to see it apply max rate as it's getting a feeling for the amount of variability that it's seeing in that field. And then it'll start to variably apply, but it is constantly calibrating as we're driving through that field to adjust what its new maximum index value is that we're varying off of and what's the new minimum as we go.
I think it's also important to note is this, we always want to stay on rates. We're not telling anybody to leave rates, especially if we're putting herbicide down. So, our minimum labeled rate is going to be our minimum product applied. And some people ask, so on our own farm, if we do a prescription map, typically we have our agronomist draw us a map, and most of us in the room have seen a prescription map, and it's a bunch of circles and things on a map, and you load it on your sprayer or planter, and you go plant. And the camera is really doing that for us now. I mean, we've had trials with some universities having an agronomist do a prescription map for us. And then we've come back over it with there's a SenseApply camera, and really they overlay one another, identical. Outside of the cameras, a little bit more particular because we're in field, in real time, picking all this stuff up. But really, from what we see, they are very identical maps when you get done. So it's pretty impressive what the camera can do on its own.
It's definitely impressive, but clearly you want to get into the discussion about buying a system like this. So, I mean, typically you buy a system like this, you've got a big upfront cost, either a per acre fee every year, you get nickeled and dimed on fees. I mean, how do you go about paying for this? What's it look like to buy this system, and what should you expect after your initial purchase?
Great question. All right, so the SenseApply system, we have basically two levels of it. So the base level of it, if a customer just wants to do live VRA activities, it's going to be one level, our base price for the product. Once you buy it, you own it forever. No fees, annual subscriptions, nothing. If a customer chooses to do two things, if a customer farms where they want to do live VRA or they want to have selective spray capabilities, they can purchase the advanced package, and that will include both the live VRA base package plus a one-time unlock to unlock it to the selective spray, and you have it for life. It's yours, no subscriptions, no per acre fees. It's yours. All that stays with the camera for the lifetime. Anything to add to that, Alex, that I missed maybe on the pricing?
No, you got it there right at the very end, that make sure we understand that these are lifetime activations for the life of the device. It's not tied to the sprayer that you purchased the system on from the factory, and then could be moved there forward to different devices or different vehicles if needed.
Yep. And as we, once we launch the products, we will obviously have more new features that come along. We'll have software updates that come along with it. But again, the point of this is it's yours. You bought it, camera's yours, and we're excited to get these things in people's hands.
Okay, so you get them in their hands and you're using it. I want to go back to this real quick, but like say you exit the field, you're done for the day. How easy is it to access the maps, to share the maps? I mean, where do they go to find them?
Yeah, so this option is going to be tied from the factory to the Viper 4 Plus display and is in line with the data transfer kind of capabilities of all the Patriot 50 series sprayers as well as the Tridents right now. You can visualize that data in one of our two off-vehicle portals through the Raven Slingshot portal, if that better fits your needs and the kind of the workflow for the operation that you're running. Or you can also see it pass through to Case IH Field Ops, which offers an excellent mobile experience. You're able to very easily chop up and see those as-applied maps and compare those year over year to see what that translates to in terms of savings.
All right, so how do we get more information? I mean, obviously, this is a 30-minute session. We're giving people an idea of what the program does, what the system, the technology does. It's pretty fascinating, but I'm assuming people want to learn more about it. What's the easiest way to learn more about it?
Well, since we're all here, I hope everybody stops by the CASEIH booth for number one. We have a SenseApply camera, a demo stand there on a new Patriot 50 series sprayer. So number one, please come by the booth. We got quite a few sprayer product technical specialists that are waiting to answer your questions. On the screen here, you'll see we actually have an ROI calculator that we put together. So anyone that, again, has some skepticism on can this pay back for my farm, we'll plug it in. We will plug in the crops, what you guys do for applications, application types, and we'll see how quick we can actually pay back on your own farm. And then hopefully, we're all about demoing. We got units to demo. Alex has got a lot of units for all of our product specialists across North America that we want to get with our dealers and get demos in people's hands.
All right. Well, I want to go back to, essentially the challenges that we've all got right now. I mean, I understand that anytime on our farm we see new technology, I've got a lot of questions. But essentially, if we continue to spray and fertilize the way that we have always in the past, not to mention just the inefficiency of it, I'm not sure that it's going to work on other levels as well. We're talking regulations, you name it. And going into a system like this, to me, certainly seems to be a heck of a lot more, I guess, environmentally friendly, you would say, than just a base rate on all your acres. And so I think as we go into 25, I mean, if you've got the opportunity to try one of these out, I would highly recommend getting your hands on one of them, because being able to get a hold of the efficiencies, in my opinion, is going to give us a better chance, because quite frankly, I think most of you would agree that 2024, the crop year, we didn't have a whole lot of opportunities to make good money, and 23 was no beauty queen either. So it's been tough. I totally understand that. And one of the only ways that we can put ourselves in a better situation is to reduce our inputs, become more efficient, get ourselves in a position to where whenever we look at what a break even on corn is, that we can actually lower that a little bit through the money that we're spending to put into that corn crop. So I think what we'll do is we'll open it up for questions. I'm sure there's a few of you that have some questions for these guys. However you want to go about it. Go ahead, sir.
So this is fantastic technology. On the opposite side of the equation, what's the effect going to be on the chemical producers? Are we selling a lot less chemicals?
I can take that. So it's if we're talking specifically on chemicals, selective spray systems have been around for 25 years already. I mean, this, as we look specifically to selective spray, and not necessarily variable rate, it's been around for 25 years. And yes, is it becoming more mainstream now that us OEMs are bringing the technology? Yes, but we also know that chemical companies specifically have more products on the shelf to better kill weeds than what we may have or may not have in the past. So we know as we get into certain selective spray operations, burn down operations, and everything else that goes into the practices, we're gonna change our practices, no doubt about it. So, but to not get into this technology and bring it to the machines is something we just need to do. It's good technology, it's good products. We need to be better for the environment, all those things. So, good question.
In my world, more supply sometimes means a little price relief too. So it's not the end of the world. But as far as fertilizer goes, I hope you come in the morning, because I will talk quite a bit about the fact that whenever the price of corn is high, fertilizer's high. I mean, it just is. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, guys. If we would have a drought this summer, which some people are calling for, is fertilizer going to be more expensive today, or is it going to be more expensive when you're prepaying fertilizer in August? In August. You guys know it as well as I do.
And I also think when we look at nitrogen or a product like that, we're variable rating. We're not necessarily maybe in all cases going to save nitrogen in every case, but we are going to improve yield because of where we actually put the nitrogen. So in not all cases we're going to actually save everything, but we're going to improve yield no matter what we do. So it's twofold, two ways to look at the savings.
So that is subject to your input. So there is a setting within the monitor called spray radius. So there is sensitivity that's a widget on the field, and I'd love to have you come out and check out the simulator with me so I can do a better job showing you this. But there's a sensitivity, which is how big of a weed do we need to see to be able to trigger an action, and you can set that at low, medium, and high. And then a spray radius dictates how many nozzles do we make sure we turn on to make sure that we hit the weed that we just targeted, and how big of an area it sprays as we drive over that weed as we go. So that might sound like a cop-out, but the tool is in the operator's hand to decide how big of an area they want to spray to make sure they get a good, efficient kill across the field.
The other reason why we get to go faster than some traditional systems in the past, because we're looking out further. The camera is higher, looks out further, up to 50 feet in front, but to Alex's point, depends on the size of the radius around the weed then we want to make. So,
We had a question.
Yes, sir. On the fly, there's a run screen widget called Safe Rate. So it was on the screen there for the job setup too, but there's a minimum rate, a maximum rate, and what's called a safe rate. And there's a toggle on the run screen for you to change that to a broadcast at any point in time. Also, there's a number of criteria that if the system is unsure of what it's supposed to be doing, it falls back to a broadcast. So we are going to default to spray, and if it does that automatically on its own, right, especially when that boom's behind you, it's going to pop up something on the screen right there for you and say, hey, just so you know, I'm broadcasting now, we're not doing something. So you can either finish out the job, depending on the criteria you've got for that day, or make the judgment call if you're going to stop and see if you can address whatever that issue might have been. Yeah.
You had a question over here. Go ahead, sir.
Operationally, in that 50-foot area, does it continually look at that and adjust? In other words, as a sprayer gets closer and picks up another weed?
Yep. So, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead, sir.
The second question is, I'm assuming that Track ID is an autonomous system at this point.
No, sir. Yep. So the second question first, it is biomass, no biomass. And we're able to differentiate between healthy plant tissue and dead plant tissue. Just a way that plant will actually pop up with a light that it reflects back to the camera. So it's, depending on your mode, is how it's discriminating against or proactively applying to the benefit of that healthy biomass out in front of us. Thank you so much, Kate. So the other thing that's important to show here is 50 feet is just kind of a catch-all, nice round number. If you'll know this, it's like a viewing window. So that window actually starts closer to 70 feet out in front of the vehicle, and it stops at about 40 feet. So we are looking for weeds in that window at any point in time, and you'll see them represented by blue dots here. If that blue dot flashes, if we see that weed even for a second, I'm getting too close to the mic. If that blue dot flashes even for a second, even if it disappears on us, it saw it, and it's going to turn on those nozzles to make sure we spray across it as we go.
yes. But this product today is Selective Spray, green on brown, and VRA only today. Good question.
Yep, great question. So when this launches factory fit, it goes back to the model year 23 50 series sprayers. So we're going to have completing kits that goes back to model year 23. The main reason for that, just full disclosure to everybody here, is that's when we stepped up from the PC2 rate controller to the RCM. So there's a pretty big controller change. There's really no reason it couldn't go further back, but it starts to get more price prohibitive to go any further back when we need that RCM controller on the vehicle. So we'll see those become available Q4 of this year. You'll be able to factory fit or order completing kits to be able to upfit some older units.
Do we have any other questions? Yes, sir.
How are you evaluating nitrogen? How are you thinking that? Now I was wondering, is it compatible with millers down the line?
Yep. So second question's easier, so I'm going to tackle that one first. Again, it will be factory fit on model year 26 Miller Nitro sprayers as well. So right from the factory with the same functionality, single cab mounted camera, the works there. The biggest thing that I would tell you with nitrogen is we're all familiar with what nitrogen deficiencies look like in our crops throughout the season. And I would tell you that in some of the other visible, non-visible ranges of light, the plants are telling us what's wrong with them a little bit sooner than that. We just can't see it yet. So in the same way that we're able to kind of discriminate between healthy and dead plant tissue or biomass out in the field, it's recognizing some of those indicators of that deficiency earlier in the season. So a yellowing of the crop is actually a pretty late stage nitrogen deficiency, and this is able to see it quite a bit sooner.
And I know we're talking a whole lot about, factory fit opportunities and retrofits back to model year 23. We fully know as we get into this product more, we know, having product offerings for later model, earlier model equipment will come. But Case IH, Miller, New Holland brands, all the products, we will eventually continue to get in and expand our portfolio of machines. So looking forward to it.
We're getting the high sign here, guys.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're about done. So I'd love to see you guys at 7 o'clock in the morning, but make sure you come see these guys at the booth. Quiz them, talk to them about it, learn more about it. It's great technology. Thanks for coming out, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.